And that's Vegas and Allison Hyams with Broke It Down the remix, and we have the pleasure to have the lovely, the beautiful, the talented, the gorgeous, if you will, Robin Givens. She's like, who is this guy?
I love this man.
You like that intro?
Can I take him home with me?
You like that intro?
Am I allowed? Am I allowed?
Sure, I don't mind. It's no problem. We got Robin here in the building. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm great.
Oh,
I have to say this.
Okay.
I've been in such need of a vacation.
Yeah, okay.
That's all I've felt. You know,
Right,
those
right,
times
right.
in your life, like, I need the vacation.
Yeah.
And I always think of the islands. That's a real vacation. Yes. Since I've been here in Toronto, I love Toronto, but the voices, the sounds of everyone's voice, and now that music,
That
I'm like,
vibe.
oh, I love it. I love
I was
it.
just thinking, I'm going to tweet Vegas and say Robin Givens was brucking it down.
Brucking
in
it
the
down.
studio. I love it.
So this is your
Some
first time.
version of that, right? Some version of it. Oh, Lord.
That's the Robin version. So you've been to Toronto before.
Oh my gosh, I love Toronto.
Yeah,
I was here for the first time about 25 years ago when I landed my first major role on
Okay.
Powers booth for an HBO
Nice.
movie. It was such a big deal, you know, those things looking back, and that was my first time. I'm a New Yorker anyway, so it's kind of like, you know,
Yeah,
we're
you
neighbors,
feel, exactly.
and same vibe,
Yeah, well, totally,
you know.
totally.
And you look exactly the same.
Oh, God bless you.
All
No, I mean,
girl,
God bless you.
the
I'm
same.
gonna move in. I'm not taking you home. I'm moving in. Okay.
This is your home now.
Yeah.
This is your home. Now, are you a morning person? Do you like the mornings?
I am
Are you
a morning person.
early riser?
I am an early riser. My son is with me, and we're sharing a room. You've
Okay.
seen my son.
Yeah,
You've
yeah, I just met him,
Okay,
yeah.
and we're sharing a room, and he does this thing where he he likes to stay up late. Now,
Yeah.
I get up early because I go to bed early.
Right.
And he goes to bed with the TV on. You know, and it's like blasting.
Yeah,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? I mean, after you reach a certain age, I want the lights off.
Oh, yeah, you want
I
to
want to
calm
tuck myself in. I want to give myself a hug. So I'm like, oh, I'm waking up exhausted.
Oh, my goodness.
So let's talk a bit about the play Deranged. People they can't wait to come and see this play.
It's a fun show. And what I love about the show is you can bring everybody.
Yeah.
You know, it's a real family show, a date show, a family show. And it's kind of based a little bit around the movie Hand That Rocks the Cradle, if anybody remembers.
okay.
You know,
Okay.
it's when, you know, you say yes to that nanny, and
Yes.
everybody in the audience is like, don't let her
That's not the one.
not that one, not that one. You picked the wrong one. You know? And she goes from absolutely perfect to
Right.
like, no, I want your husband.
To deranged.
I want your baby. Yes, I want to be the woman in this family.
That's too funny.
And it's really funny because then the audience gets in on it.
Yep.
Sort of knows what's coming even before they do.
Right.
Working with Carl Payne,
Right, yes.
who is just such a pleasure and so good at what he
Yeah.
does. So funny.
What is it like working with that cast? Is Keith Washington? Is Carl
Yeah.
Payne?
Well, you know, I think Carl and I met, I don't even know the year, but like from that Cosby era.
Oh,
Right, okay.
You know,
that's right.
and the sitcom where you're sort of trained the same way.
Yeah.
You come up, so you immediately go to
You
those.
click right away.
Exactly.
Yeah,
You just
yeah.
know how it's done. So that's really, really nice. I know that we're supposed to be talking about the play, but I heard it's somebody's birthday.
Ah.
It's my birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Now I'm going
And she's gonna fuck it down.
Happy birthday to you.
Now I wanted to ask you,
Oh, God.
speaking of the thing, I don't know if you've even heard the commercial that we're running, but we use the part where you go in,
Right.
and I listen to it like she went there. When
Yeah.
you say, "I guess the robe doesn't fit you anymore," it's my husband. People are up in arms like, "Oh, she went there." And you have this way where you sometimes can play an awesome villain, and we think that you love the hero, but for me and a lot of people, we love the
We
villains.
love the villain.
Wow.
We love the bad girls
Yeah.
because sometimes that's the only time, as women, unfortunately, we really get to be strong.
Oh, wow.
So,
Well,
how do you feel about playing the villain versus playing the hero?
I always really think of real characters. You know, a director that I worked with when I did Rage in Harlem said there's always something good in every bad person and something bad in every good person.
True
And
Those
I
are the
think
only
what-
villains we like,
I
the ones that are well-rounded.
Yeah, I think what makes acting interesting is when you are creating a whole character.
Whole
You know,
person,
this
yeah.
one's a little bit more fun because it is that comedic element.
Right.
So she is a little crazy. So that's really fun.
Right.
But I think certain roles like I forget my character's name, Jacqueline in Boomerang.
And Boomerang.
You know, I mean, she's just. You know, every woman. I wish I had her strength, her courage, her clothes, everything.
Right.
But you know, where a woman does something that a man usually does.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
It's pretty.
I was actually excited to talk to you about just really want to talk about that role. I think that role in Boomerang was so, I don't even look at it as a villain.
Right.
I think that was such a pivotal, amazing role in black film, but also just in general for women. Because you single-handedly, with that character, flipped the entire script.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't know why anybody would call her a villain. I don't get
That's
that.
a good point.
I don't
That's a
even
good point.
I can't even wrap my mind around that. Like the whole joke of it, and Eddie and I kind of, I mean, I've known him since I was 15, 16 years old, and you know, he had just gotten Saturday Night Live.
Right,
Literally just gotten
Right.
it. And so it was fun working with a friend, first
Yes.
of all, when I didn't even know I was going to really pursue this. But he does what she usually does. That was the only. So I don't get that.
And we
I guess
loved
the reason-
him, but it shows a stereotype because we thought he was a boss.
Right.
And then when you did it, people were
Right.
like, "I was like, she's a
Yeah,
boss.
yeah, that's a good
They're
point.
exactly
Right.
the same. She's just as strong as him. So why is it wrong when she's doing the exact same thing he does?"
Maybe, you know, if you think about it, maybe the timing, because things are always sort of evolving. And, you know, when I sort of think of Nicki Minaj, who I love, you know, I mean, women, and I think particularly black
Regain that
women,
power.
have gotten a sense of, you know, have evolved,
Yes,
you know,
totally.
in many respects, and their freedoms
So
and
it's
what
in
they
context
do.
of the time.
So
yeah.
I think the context of the time,
yeah, that
perhaps.
makes sense.
Maybe even back in the day, I remember going, you know, Hallie's a nice girl, but I think Robin was the boss. But
She
you
was
didn't
the
want
boss.
him too. That was part of it
Right,
too. You didn't
right.
want him. And I think sometimes they put women against each other. But obviously, to make it as long as you've made it and be here, you obviously have to have great relationships all around.
Right.
So who are some of the women in your life or women that you actually look up to?
Oh, women that I look. You know, Cicely Tyson is probably my mom in the
Okay.
business. You know,
Okay.
nobody in my family does this, and didn't particularly want me to do this.
Okay.
They wanted a doctor.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you crazy? You can't do
I
this.
know the
You know,
deal.
there's a
I
scene in the
know.
Cosby Show where the oldest daughter says, "I'm not going to medical school," and Felicia Rashad says, "That's fine. I just want my 300." 62 cents back right now. You know, that was sort of my house.
She tallies
What
up the
are
money?
You, yes. What are you talking about? I think my mom just finally stopped leaving medical school applications for me, like just a few years ago. I don't want anything. You know.
Yeah, she's finally come to the understanding that acting is what you're doing.
Yeah, I did a play, the Pasadena Playhouse.